I even checked Copilot this morning and asked it, what its thoughts were
Sure.
on what's going on with the recent announcement about a Microsoft 365 E7. And I liked the answer it gave me, actually. It didn't say rah rah E7. It said, well, there's mixed reviews. Right? There's a little bit of skepticism around it. I think it's because when Copilot was released last year, there wasn't this mass kind of, purchasing of Copilot licensing. Clients were careful about it. They started thinking about things like data security, things like that. And now I think they're in that phase where they're trying to figure out what E7 could potentially mean to them. So I think the first thing we want to cover and clarify, because I've been on LinkedIn this week and I've seen images, infographics on what comes with E7, and I saw 3 different variations of what comes with E7. Why don't you be the truth teller here and, specifically tell us, what does it come with? What is E5, E7? What does it come with? And then we'll go from there.
Yeah, no, thanks, Rick. Nowadays everything's agent, everything's AI, things like that. And we always talk to clients, hey, how are you securing, how are you governing your AI and your agents, on behalf of as users create their own agents. And where we're seeing this vast explosion as clients move towards that frontier firm is, all right, where do I even look at how many agents are out there? How do I monitor and manage these and things like that? To where now, and the biggest advantage of Microsoft 365 E7 is clients are going more into the agentic world in being able to manage those, and having a control plane is Agent 365. So as we look at Agent 365 and the capabilities there, now you have a control plane where clients can manage all of the agents in the environment, including your third-party agents, things that were created in Bedrock as an example, or any of the other SaaS applications that might have an agent involved in bringing in those connected data sources, to now where Microsoft with Microsoft 365 E7 and also the Entra Suite providing Entra governance around that, where you can have an ID for the agents, similar to how you would do for a user, that you have now a complete lifecycle onboarding and offboarding for your agents as well. Now they've really packaged it all together. So now as you're doing the agents and you have users creating agents and you have your citizen developers, then now IT and security, CISOs are going to love this. Now you have a pane of glass where you can control them regardless of that, and you can identify any potential risks associated with those agents before they're deployed. So this gives a whole nother agentic framework as the basis of creating them all.
Okay. So, the way I see it is we're starting to treat agents like objects and identities within the ecosystem, and we're trying to govern them the exact same way, right?
Absolutely. Think of agents really as a user. So, and this is going to become more pertinent as you look at the multimodal agents and things like that, how they hand off to other agents, and then fully autonomous agents. Where is the risk associated with that, especially when you're dealing with sensitive information? And let's take care of the governance piece first before we fully go out and deploy this, awesome agent that's going to do everything like a user would do. And that's going to be the next thing, I think, as we're working with other clients, is how do we get them in a position to where they can really take advantage of what these agents can accomplish.
Yeah. The other thing I was interested in and I'm excited about, right, is this product Cowork, right? That's sort of built into the E7 license. We build agents, and agents will, they'll run a series of tasks that you want it to run, right? And it could be tapping multiple data sources in order to make that happen, in order to give you the output that you're looking for. The vibe that I get around this product, Cowork, is that just at the prompting level, you can provide the same level of instruction to Copilot that you would normally do in an agent, and it'll carry out that series of tasks for you as well. I consider this like a Gen 1, right?
Yeah.
This thing is probably going to evolve and evolve in a really elegant way, right, for business users. I can only imagine the amount of time it would save for somebody, especially somebody like me who has to move data from one place to another and quickly, and create a summary, create a document, and post it to Teams and share it with my people, and just, do all these different things. And I'm cutting the time invested down, right, and the accuracy of it. for just a few short minutes, right? What do you think?
I think it's a great idea. When you look at it, all of the agents are controlled really by what is their knowledge source, where does that lie, and what is the source of truth? As we know, there's tons of information out there on the internet, and clients see this as well, and within their own intranet and SharePoint. So having clean data for the agents to access makes sense, and the integration of what Microsoft has done is really aligns more to the MCP service, so your model context protocol of here's your source of truth for your information. And when you integrate that, so the agents for like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, now they integrate together. So you can take your chat, your Copilot chat, type in what you want to do, and it will take that information and say, hey, I want to create a PowerPoint presentation. So instead of having to go into PowerPoint, you already have the agent working on your behalf, for what you're trying to accomplish. And now we're looking at Wave 3 Copilot. So some of the new updates around that is now you can choose which model. So you're not limited to the OpenAI model itself.
Okay.
You'll be able to choose Claude, for example, as the model of choice, for instance, when you're chatting with it.
Right.
And they have different, benefits, advantages, things like that on the Anthropic models and things. But now having choice of how you're going to use your agent is really the next step. And even when you're going to create another agent, right, this can also be a helpful tool. And think of it as well, here's things that I do all the time. One being, onboarding, right? You look at that lifecycle management. Here's all the steps, all the tasks. Where can we create an agent that goes to HR, that goes to IT, and does the handoff and next part for the new person being onboarded? Hey, here's your training, and just automatically doing that can save time.
Yeah.
So you always look at it as having humans involved to make the decisions, but there's so many repetitive tasks where an agent can make sense that we've been able to help clients with.
Yeah. All right, we're going to pivot out of E7. More to come, right? It's going to be released on May 1st. I think we're not trying to sell E7 right now. We're trying to provide information and some strategic thought around it, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's a great place to start. It's like, hey, everybody hold the phone here. Let's talk about it. And figure out what it might mean to you. And is your organization even ready for this? Even if you wanted just a couple of licenses to try it out, let's figure out what that means from an insertion standpoint, like from a governance standpoint, before we go. And we're happy to talk to clients about that. All right. So Microsoft 365 E7, we talked about that. Now we're going to go to these enterprise agreement customers out there. There was the announcement on November 1st that a lot of these enterprise agreement customers at renewal are going to have to evaluate a different license program.
Sure.
There's also EA customers out there that weren't notified of this change that are still thinking about a CSP program, mainly because of the flexibility of the program, the partner level engagement, the different different support experience that they might gain from that whole thing. I'm noticing a surge of that, right? There are more and more customers that are kind of in that high value or enterprise customer space that are wanting to have the conversations about it. Why do you think they are actively reassessing CSP right now? Like, what's the big driver? What do you think it is?
Yeah, excellent question. I think as you evaluate it, right, it's the rigidness of what a EA has provided in the past and has always looked, hey, that's the best pricing if I'm under an enterprise agreement. And no longer is the case. I think the clients that we work with that have been under an enterprise agreement understand like they don't really feel like they're getting the support not only from their Microsoft team but also from the partner that they're transacting the enterprise agreement through. So there's an area of opportunity where these larger clients truly we're missing out, right? It's like on the engagement model itself, and where a CSP like MicroAge comes into play is like, how can we partner with you? It's not about the licensing, things like that. It's about what's your goals? What's your objectives? What are the future initiatives? And look, I love Microsoft 365 E5. It has a tremendous value to it, but it doesn't fit every mold and it doesn't fit every user's mold either. So that's where we come in looking at optimizing your licenses, right? Does it make sense to have E5 for all of your users? And are you truly getting the value and benefit? And if you're looking at going forward with it, how can we help you, which we've done with other clients, to ensure that you're getting the maximum return on investment for what you're doing? And a lot of it is just discussing like, hey, what are your user, profiles and roles, personas, as we evaluate them and come up with an optimized plan, not only for cost savings, but also, hey, what are the future efforts and where we have the flexibility and, outside of the rigidness of the enterprise agreement where we can provide, those resources as needed for these clients. And that's the biggest benefit as well as being the resource, right? It's always good having a friend in the game. I always like to, tell clients, hey, if you have future issues, let me know of them. Let me go knock on Microsoft's door and see if we can, shake some additional funding for them, just depending on what they're looking to accomplish. That's been a huge value add that they probably haven't seen in the past.
Yeah. I'm going to pick on Microsoft a little bit, because, you look at over the years, especially looking from the Microsoft sales community, and I hope I might get in trouble for this. I don't know, right? I mean, their MO is to sell more and upgrade the client into more. And now that E7 is coming around and we've had Copilot around for a while, those have been huge levers for the, for certain CSP partners that I won't mention and the Microsoft sales community to drive the clients towards. And we're coming in from a different angle because that's not how life works, right? I think that's what we're trying to explain to clients is that's really not how the world works, right? There's an element of cost management to this thing, right? That makes sense. But there's a whole business objective thing. I know that, there was a client we were meeting with this week and the CIO looked at the price, looked at the quote and said, why do we have all of these E5 licenses on here? Oh, it's what we standardized on. Well, I know this department. And there's no way they have more than a 2 gig mailbox. Why are they on E5?
Right.
Those are the challenge questions that an IT leader or somebody that's in charge of that agreement needs to have a clear answer to. And that's really what we're trying to do is kind of not create a hero or turn them into a hero, but we want to make them look like they have responsible management of their license agreement with Microsoft. And support whatever strategy that they might have in place. My piece of advice to customers is always, hey, if you get them set up on F3, you can always upgrade out of it. You can't go back the other way, right? So let's look for the minimal point of entry here. Like, what are you hearing, and what are your thoughts there? Especially because we got E7's right around the corner, and I know that this is going to happen, right? So what are your thoughts on how we can sort of support customers with really thinking that through?
It's such a great question. When you look at it as like, where's your friend in the game, we'll call it, and I look at it as like, hey, our what we're trying to do is in the best interest of our clients. Our clients come first, and we look at it from that perspective where, yes, if you're going to take advantage of the additional, features of the licensing and things like that, let's do it. But let's also think strategically. I look at it, hey, there's a lot of promotions out there. How do we accomplish the most with less, we'll call it, and that probably relates to some of the AI and agents. But also when it comes to the licensing, yes, inherently we're in sales, we want to sell more, but we want to do it in a way that is in the best interest of our clients. So I think taking that perspective, even from a resource standpoint, we want to be that partner involved with what they're looking to do and where can we bring the maximum benefits to them. And it's going to make sense. You have clients out there now on E5, they added on Copilot, and this is going to be a big opportunity for them to just go to Microsoft 365 E7. So now you have the bundled package and it's about the same price, with the promotional discounts. So it makes sense to get that and then the inherent additional value of Entra Suite, the Agent 365, of course, that observability piece and having that additional control plane. And it's one of those too where, we always recommend mixing and matching, right? Whether it's the subscription options of Microsoft 365, does the annual prepaid, is that an option from a cost standpoint and budgeting that makes sense to avoid the 5% premium versus the annual paid monthly? And then I always look at it from the strategic standpoint, right? Microsoft before they had NC is you could always, remove licenses, add licenses as needed, which has gone away. So how do we strategize around that to where, hey, the monthly plan in most cases doesn't make sense to pay a 20% premium for, but we can mix and match, if you have cyclical workforces and things like that, let's commit to a certain level and then do the rest under monthly or the annual commit paid monthly, just depending on, where that strategy comes into play. So I look at it as the true value of what we provide, working with our clients is having the strategic discussions, being ingrained in what they're trying to accomplish so that they have a better understanding of not having to figure out all the changes Microsoft makes on a daily basis, even around licensing. But here's where we can help them optimize, assess their environments, even looking at, hey, when you're creating these agentic AI agents, where can we help you in the process, and bringing in the additional resources as needed, and it's not necessarily thrown up on them. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say one thing about the Mac agreement, right? Because there's still a little bit of confusion about, what it's going to mean and how the CSP partner community can support a client with that. But there are changes coming with it, right?
Yeah.
And regardless of what those changes are, I think it's really Microsoft's way of saying is that we want our partners more involved at the Azure level as well, especially at the capacity planning level or the cost management level, as well. So we're available. We've got a methodology approach to our EA to CSP transitions. And even if you're just a CSP customer and you want to evaluate partners right now, right, this is a great opportunity to engage with us to get help around that. We're here for a neutral approach to this E7 discussion, right? I think we established that in our conversation today. We're obsessed with having the most accurate information. So if you're looking for the right answer, right, you either get it from us or it's not available yet, right? Or maybe there's still, a little bit of information that needs to be learned from Microsoft before we can articulate a clear answer. But, that's something that we're committed to doing for our clients. Any last minute thoughts?
I would just say, like, hey, we're very interested in having, follow-up conversations, interested in having strategic discussions, and honestly, where can we help you as it comes to your Microsoft services, and that being one of the largest expenses for organizations, that we can come in and at least partner with what they're trying to accomplish and be that resource for.